So when it comes to handling your life responsibilities, there is a hack for it. Um, but there's a disclaimer. Let me put a disclaimer on this before I say it. It's
Hey, welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. It's good to be in here with y'all. Hmm? Oh my gosh, wash your face and brush your teeth. Yes, go ahead. It's my man's. Y'all pay that no attention. We'll go wash your face. That's my man's right there. Hey. I'm not playing anything. I'm not playing anything. You can give me some dap. I'm sorry. I thought we can. I'm not playing nothing. You ain't gonna give me no dap. All right. Welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. I'm gonna be right back.
you know what I'm saying. Step up, level up to it. Got you. Now it's also again gonna take what you already have, and you're gonna want to give this freely now that you know about it. All right, and time or whatever. It's your mind. It is simply your mind. Now let's combine the two: your time and your mind. Now the word mind, I always like to think about when I say mind.
All right. So today on Your Way Wednesday, what we talking about? I don't know. I could, for the life of me, I couldn't remember. Growing old. Growing old. That's what we talking about today. So let me get y'all motivation. Get it started. We gonna go from there. All right. Motivation for women. Give me something good. All right. Let's see what you got.
Task into a project, and this
This
new
ain't it.
AI
Hold
tool
on.
built
Let
my
me see if I can find something specific. Because we always hear necessarily the same people sometimes. Let's see if over talking back. All right, let's go.
There's a bigger dream waiting for you, just waiting for you to step into it. Everything you try to do is already done. So when I figured that out, oh, what I'm putting out is what's coming back. Let me get real clear about what it is I'm putting out. Real clear. So I read a book about 1989 called Seed of the Soul. And in that book, Gary Zukav talked about the laws of karma, of the laws of cause and effect, the third law of motion. And in that book, he talked about how your intention is always one with the law. Meaning, before you
Hey,
even
what's
think
good,
about
Ash?
a
Thanks for
thing,
dropping through.
you have an intention for the thing. And that the intention is going to determine the outcome. That's why the same people can go to the same church service and somebody walk down the aisle just to be seen to put some money in the church, and somebody else who just goes and just has a little bit to offer. The intention with which you give, the intention with which you serve determines the outcome. So when I figured that out, I went, whoa. I changed everything I did on my show. I called in the producers and I said, from this day forward,
right.
I will no longer be speaking to the KKK. I will no longer be speaking to people who are fighting each other in a way that it is damaging to the character of myself and other people who watch. From this day forward, I am only going to do intentional television. So it is my intention to fulfill the dream of the Creator. It is my intention to live to the highest calling and be pressed to the mark of the highest calling that I have come to do. And when you can ask the Creator, ask that which made you you, what is your dream for me? I guarantee you, instead of you trying to define the dream, what is your dream for me? If you're able to lean into the dream that the universe and all the forces of light and love and power and grace by all the names that we call God has for you, nobody can touch you.
Can't touch you.
Every single day, I would have a pre-show meeting and have the producers come in and state to me, what is your intention? How do we want to use whoever is on this show, whatever is happening on this show, to serve the audience in a way that fulfills the mission of uplifting, enlightening, encouraging, as well as entertaining. And if it doesn't do that, then I can't do it. There's a bigger dream waiting for you, just waiting for you to step into it. To step into it. Your life is big. Your life is huge. And we spend so much time wanting to be in somebody else's life. And you don't get honored, you don't get revered, you don't get celebrating wanting what
what's up,
somebody
Stacey?
else has.
Thanks for dropping through. You know I got the love out here for you, motivation, at least.
Because that which created you, divine intelligence that dreamed you from before your ancestors ever knew they would become your ancestors, that which dreamed the seed of you, wants you to know how special, how wondrous, how mysterious, how complex, how glorious, how phenomenal you are. And you get no credit messing in somebody else's territory.
Hey,
Or
what's good, Nia?
trying to have
You know what time it is.
power over something you have no control. Another one of my favorite teachings is The Wizard of Oz. When the Wicked Witch of the West says, go away from here because you don't have any power here, you have no power in any territory other than your own. Oh, but you are the master of that. You get to be the master of your own fate. You get to be the captain of your own soul. And if you just manage that, if you just took care of your territory, oh, the glorious, 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 wondrous, wondrous opportunities and possibilities that are waiting for you. So the question is, what are you resisting? What are you pushing against? What are you not allowing? What are you blocking because you have this idea of who and what you're supposed to be, instead of leaning into the dream that's already been created and waiting for you? It's waiting for you. And the second, it's an instant thing. It's a shift in the way you see yourself and the power from which you have come.
If English isn't your first language like me, and you want your writing to reflect your voice,
Come on,
consider
Marshall.
trying Grammarly Pro
Sorry,
to
y'all.
elevate your skills. Grammarly Pro can help
Y'all know we
translate
love
my primary
the
language
commercials, but-
flawlessly and does it right when I'm writing. Another
Y'all know we love the commercials, but not when they
I
interrupt the
went through
message.
some tough times after I left the Oprah show. I made a conscious decision that when I felt I had said all that I could say and the audience had heard it, that I would move on and that I would not spend my life regretting or trying to hold on to what used to be or hold on to what I had. So I dreamed this dream of starting a network. And in the beginning, it was a struggle. It was a struggle because honest to goodness, I did not know what I was doing. I was trying to figure it out. I thought that the Oprah show audience would follow us to OWN, and then I realized y'all didn't have cable. And if you had cable, you did not have the OWN package. So it took me a minute. And unlike most people who you get to have your mistakes in private, Some don't go right in your life. You get to sulk about it in private. If I make a mistake, it's on the CNN crawl or the CNN news. So when I was in the climb and there were so many wonderful owners, I see Churl Action Jackson here. There were so many wonderful owners, people who said, oh, we're gonna stand with you. We're gonna stand by you. Thank you, Roland Martin. There were so many people who said, listen, we believe that this can happen. So I dreamed the dream, along with Tyler Perry, who was my friend, who came to me and said, Tyler said, I'm gonna help you out, because Tyler can go home and write a script and direct it, produce it, and shoot it, and do it for less money than anybody in Hollywood. So we started with the foundation of have and have nots. If loving you is wrong, love thy neighbor, Mama Hattie. And then I started to dream another dream about scripted television, because in the beginning I was told you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it, didn't have enough money to do it. And
Hey, Stacey, I appreciate the likes out there too.
I read Proverbs 11:28 that says, those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will rise and thrive like a green leaf.
All right. Now look, I'm glad we always start with the motivation, because if we was to, let's say we went straight into the message, right? We'd be like, hey, welcome to Expansion Pack, da, 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 and message. Then you wouldn't be primed. You wouldn't. It's like going outside and pushing the gas pedal on your car, and you ain't start your car. You feel what I'm saying? You can push the brake, it'll stop, but it's already stopped. But pushing the gas ain't gonna do nothing. We gotta get this in so we can go, baby. Hold on. All right. So now, growing old. We're gonna do this for just a second, and then we'll get off before the copyright. Here we go. You guys should enjoy this. I give you about 3 seconds of it. Hey.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was just a little nigga, I looked up to my bigger bro, begged if I could kick it. So when he went out with girls, I could go tagging along, nagging. If she had a sis, maybe could mac a baby hood rat. Y'all remember way back then when it was 1985, all the way live. I think I was about 10. One of those happy little niggas singing the blues that be always trying to bag with the shag and karate shit. Saying, yo, mama black, his mama this, his mama that. Then he get mad and wanna scrap. We stay mad about 10 minutes, then it's like back on the bike to play hide and go get it with the younger hoes by the bungalows. Then switch to playing ding dong ditch when that gets old and too cold.
You already know,
hack it.
Stacey.
Threw on a bomber jacket. You could tell the ballers cause they fell wearing gazelles. If they really had money raised, we sport EKs. And all the girls had they Turkish link. If it broke, then they made earrings to it. Like they meant to do it. But sometimes I still sit and reminisce. Then think about the years I was raised back in the day.
So everybody got their memories, and here on Expansion Pack we say a lot of stuff, but the main thing is find your root so you can grow. I played that because the topic is growing old, and in order to see where you came from, to see where you at, you got to see where you came from. So let's look at what it means to be growing and growing old. Are we just getting taller? We just getting bigger, fatter, whatever? What we doing? All right, so what it means to grow old. Oh, grow up. Let's see what's up. All right, hold on. We got two different options. We're going to go with both of them. We're going to see the School of Life, because School of Life always got it. I
Our
think I'd like
societies
to-
are attached to a phrase which it can be a bit too easy to assume we understand. The talk is of people growing and of having grown, which alludes to some kind of important psychological evolution and development. But what does growing in this sense really involve? What is it that we are developing a capacity to do when we so-called grow? And what are we leaving behind? And crucially, how might we train ourselves to grow a little more and a little more quickly? What we may essentially be pointing to with the idea of growth is the ability to stop responding to situations in the present through lenses unconsciously distorted by our psychological histories, and especially the quirks and biases bequeathed to us by our invariably somewhat complicated childhoods. A person who grows is likely to be able to look more fairly at other people and situations, and to recognize the extent to which they might be aggravating conflict or heaping unwarranted suspicion or ruining their chances, because they bear within them presumptions shaped by hard-to-recall experiences of loneliness, fear, betrayal, and humiliation. A person who has grown will more readily be able to check their first unhelpful responses to things and reach for a more complicated, objective set of explanations. It may not always have to be their companion's fault. Perhaps a mistake was, in this instance, innocent. It might be their role to say a small sorry. Maybe they've misunderstood what was really being meant. To grow is to acquire the courage for new sorts of questions. What if I were repeatedly defending myself against closeness and hope? Or what if I was using busyness to block encounters with my own mind? Or what if I secretly maneuvered to end a relationship prematurely because I felt safe with feelings of isolation and rejection? Or what if I was running away from opportunities to show myself authentically to other people? These questions can, in personal life, be what we might in science describe as Copernican, questions that involve a fundamental rethinking of one's place in the order of things. The more one grows, the more one might have to give up a certain sort of confidence and certainty, not in the name of weakness or self-hatred, but for the sake of a newfound skepticism, a patient modesty, and a humorous readiness to wryly acknowledge error and admit to fragility. A person who has grown might operate with a vivid sense of how much they misunderstand. They might appreciate their fear of intimacy and joy. They might more often say, "I don't know," or "let me perhaps think more about that." Even sometimes, on really special occasions, they might say, "I think you may have a point." And they may be more receptive to friendships built around a recognition of vulnerability and anxiety.
So, in this video right here, I'm just pausing right here. I'm gonna play the last little bit. I only want to talk for about 10 to 15 seconds. In this video right here, going from being a child to being grown or growing up is taking a good look at yourself. And when you're a child, you're not able to look at yourself because you haven't grown enough to look at yourself. It's like having your hand like this, and then slowly as you're growing, you're able to pull your hand away and say, "Oh."
What spurs growth is, unfortunately, always pain. We grow because we were fired, and then, already shattered, were finally able to look at what colleagues around us might have found difficult about us for many years. We grow because we lost a major love, and at last, as we weep in a corner of the airport lounge, we see that we might have been far too guarded or demanding or frightened. We grow because, in an hour of need, we can't bear to be alone anymore and realize, as if for the first time, what friendship could really be for. The greatest sign of growth might be a readiness to calmly take on board the scale of one's silliness, how many basic things one's still learning, what a child one still is. A person who has grown won't see anything offensive at all, indeed will stoically accept the idea that they have been, very often indeed, over some quite major things, if we can put this politely, a bit of an idiot. And they will be intensely committed to trying to be rather less of one in the precious time that
they
remains.
have left. Ooh,
If you're
baby.
a man
Yes. So that's grown right there. That's grown. Hold on. Like the baby when they discover new things about themselves. Exactly. That's grown. And so I guess it's a revisiting of where we've been to be grown. Whereas to be young and a child is a constant discovery of things we've never known. Write that down. Write that down. All right. Let's see what Jordan Peterson was talking about.
He tries to go back home. He tries to go back to what he was. And he can't do that anymore. He tries to go back home. He tries to go back to what he was. And he can't do that anymore. Carl Jung talked about this phenomenon. He described as retrogressive restoration of the persona. And so it's a complicated idea, but
Wait. I think I know what this is. He described as retrogressive restoration of the persona. All right. So what I take away from that statement is just we look back on where we came from, and it helps us to restore ourselves to what we want to be. I like Carl Jung, little smoking pipe. I got one of them.
basically what it means is that sometimes you take a leap forward and you learn some things, but you can't catalyze a new identity, so you try to go back and hide in your old identity. And that actually doesn't work, because, well, things have changed and you've learned something, and that isn't who you are anymore. And so it's like you have to cut parts of yourself off in a destructive manner to fit back into the person that you were. Now what happens here is that Pinocchio escapes from this.
Okay, I acknowledge. Hold on, wait, let me put it on the big screen. I was completely wrong. Back to the movie.
Tyrannical situation and undergoes this descent into chaos, but he tries to go back home. He tries to go back to what he was, and he can't do that anymore. His father isn't at home anymore. And so when he goes home, he finds that there's no home there. Now, this happens to people sometimes, and it's often a shock to them. So one of the things I've noticed about Peter Pan type, I'm going to speak about men here because I've observed it more in men, is that they'll often stay under the thumb of their father. And you think, well, why would someone do that? Because it means they're subject.
Yes, definitely do. Definitely do.
To the tyrannical judgment.
Oh, the question was, don't we sometimes wish we could go back? And so I'll restate that. Yes, definitely do. But I'll say this, just to be brief. Only to visit, though, not to stay.
Of their father. They're always concerned about what their father would think or whether their father approves of them, and so forth. And you think, well, that's got to be an unpleasant place to be.
I thought this was a dream come true for us.
It's your dream. You can't force a dream onto someone else, Dad.
Yes, I can. I can force a dream on you.
Why are you yelling?
Because it's a good dream.
One of the things that I've suggested to my clients and to other people sometimes is that here's a weird little exercise that you can undertake, a little thought experiment. So you have your parents, and of course your parents have friends who are about their age, and maybe some of them are people you only know peripherally. And I might ask you, well, do you care more about...
Remember this video. Now, if you've been watching along with us here on Expansion Pack, you might remember this video too. Pay attention.
About what your parents think, then you care about what these peripheral people who know your parents think? And then the answer to that is, well, of course. And then the question that arises out of that is, why? I mean, for someone else, your parents are the peripheral people, and their parents are central. Like,
wait,
why is
run
it
it back.
logical parents are the... Why? The question that arises, think? And then the answer to that, you care about, and I might ask you, well, Do you care more about what your parents think than you care about what these peripheral people who know your parents think? And then the answer to that is, well, of course. And then the question that arises out of that is, why? I mean, for someone else, your parents are the peripheral people, and their parents are central. Like, why is it logical that your parents' opinion makes any more difference to you than the opinion of some randomly selected people who are approximately that age? Why is it the case that you would consider that they would know more than someone else? I mean, I know they know you better, and fair enough, but that's not the point. And then another point there is that to the degree that your parents' opinion about you matters more than some randomly selected people of approximately the same age, Jung would say, well, you haven't exactly separated out the God image from your parents, and so you're still under that combination. It's like, it's a complicated thing to talk about, but Freud said, for example, that no one could be a man unless his father had died. And Jung said, yes, but that death can take place symbolically. Okay, so there's that part of the idea. And then another part of the idea is, one of the times in your life when you actually realize that you're an individual is when you'll go and ask your parents something and you'll realize they actually don't know any more about what you should do than you do. And that sucks. And that's partly why people are often willing to maintain a tyrant-slave relationship with their father. It's like, on the one hand, you have to be inferior in a relationship like that. You know, you've always got the judge watching you. But on the other hand, there's always someone who knows what to do. There's always someone standing between you and the unknown that you can go ask, what should I do? Well, at some point, you'll realize that the reason you can't ask that anymore is because they actually don't know any more than you do. And then that's a pain, like that is a symbolic death. And that's also when you establish a more individual relationship with your parents. It's at that point that you could conceivably start taking care of them instead of the reverse.
Yes.
And that's a time that should come. But you have to let that image of perfection go. And that exposes you.
Oh, why you gotta end right there, man, when I'm almost teary-eyed? Give me a second. Go to commercial.
After failing to adopt the idea and go digital. Number 9. Many old-timers would remember Real Networks. It was the company which originally turned down the idea of a person.
That was a real moment, by the way. All right, so now that we got a good footing, let's take a break. Let's take a breather. Oh man, let's take a breather real quick. Yeah, let's take a breather. We're gonna go over to Psych2Go.
Create a voiceover using your own voice.
That was a real moment, by the way, like I said.
Customize with AI to
Hey Psych2Goers, thank you so much for the love and support that you've given us. As you know, our mission is to make psychology more accessible to everyone. Before we begin, we'd also like to give a quick shout out to all of our subscribers who have joined our YouTube membership.
Wait, y'all see how he had covered his dad up in that bed, man? For all the years that, and I'm gonna try to keep this as general as possible, not bring it too personal, because I know some of us can't revisit those times. So just keep it general. To be able to extend the care back to someone, anyone that has cared for you in that way, it's a special thing right there. That energy, it's a special energy. It go like this. All right, let me stop playing. Go ahead.
We're so thankful for all the support that you've given us. It means a lot to us, and it helps us continue what we do. As your contributions go back to investing in this channel. Thanks for the love. Now, on to the video. Are you emotionally mature? There's a difference between being mature and being emotionally mature. You can have a receding hairline and be over 6 feet tall and still not be emotionally mature.
Ooh,
So,
what does it
mean to be emotionally mature? When someone is emotionally mature, they can manage their feelings in nearly any situation. They possess empathy for others and often know how to de-escalate a conflict if necessary. They're the person you go to when you have a tough issue you need to talk about. Sounds great, right? Well, to help you get a grasp on your emotions, here are 8 ways to become more emotionally mature. Number 1, identify your emotions. How can we get a grasp on our emotions if we don't first know what we're feeling? It might seem silly that you must identify your emotions, but before you get into a heated fight or start breaking down into a sob, do you know what led you there? Maybe a simple irritation over a comment someone made found its way deep into your thoughts, and you carried that anger with you for the rest of the day. If you first recognize what you're feeling, then you can start to understand why and resolve it for yourself. Try leaving a tally in a journal every time you feel angry or irritated, and for every time you feel sad or empty. Then ask yourself why you felt that way. Being aware and understanding why you feel these things can help you manage your emotions. So if you know you're getting irritated at your brother for eating the last donut, your donut, take a breath and recognize that you're simply irritated at a donut before you say something you'll regret. That irritation.
Now that right there, that last little piece, that hit home for me only because I do that to the point where it really, really, like, if I could go inside myself and jab the hell out myself for saying that, I would. Because it's like, bruh, I know I'm mad over a donut. You ain't got to remind me, but it was my donut. It was my donut. He ate it. He had to eat it. Don't be talking to me telling me I shouldn't be mad and I need to breathe. I'm going to hit you with a right hook. But then that's being emotionally immature.
Could turn into anger for the rest of the day if you don't first identify why you were even angry in the first place. Now recognize your anger and acknowledge it. Remind yourself that your feelings are valid, but you don't have to act on them. Number 2, take responsibility. Have you ever denied something just because you didn't want to admit you were wrong? Sometimes reality can be hard to face, but it's more mature to take responsibility for our actions instead of brushing them away. If we simply ignore that we were wrong during an argument, or don't take action on things that are our responsibilities, we can never learn and grow from our mistakes. Being aware, holding yourself accountable, recognizing you were wrong, and learning from your mistakes shows that you're emotionally mature. Not only that, next time you're in the same situation, you won't make the same mistake twice. Number 3, find a role model. If you struggle with how quickly you react negatively in a stressful situation,
I like this one.
Try looking towards someone you admire as a guide. What would they do? If someone you admire acts in an emotionally mature and positive way in tough situations, it's great to use them as a role model. Like Mother Teresa. What a role model. It's important to, of course, not lose track of who you are. You don't want to become your role model and lose yourself. You just want to learn how they handle situations so well. Maybe they have a great work ethic that you admire. Try it out. How do they handle negative feedback? Calm and smoothly? Worth a try. So next time you're in a tough situation, think, what would Mother Teresa do? Number 4, keep a thought diary.
I built my dream life, but I used AI to help me get there.
Try
Motion. It's a personal assistant.
Do you suffer from negative thoughts? Are you constantly discouraging yourself? Do you point out your flaws every time you look in the mirror or complete a project? It's important to our mental health that we work towards having positive thoughts as opposed to negative ones. While we may think, oh, it's just one negative thought, no big deal, these negative comments we make to ourselves start to pile up. Soon, you're left with a harsh thinking pattern that will often take the lead when it comes to what you think. These thought processes are usually automatic and can become habitual. We don't want to think of ourselves or others in a negative light, but negativity can find a way inside of our minds. A good way to think positive is to practice cognitive reconstructuring. This can be done by keeping a thought diary. Write down what you feel every day. What were some thoughts that raced through your mind? What did you stress about? Was it worth it? What are some alternative ways to look at the situation? Our worry can be valid. But when we open up our diary and see the same thoughts take up our day over and over, we may realize they weren't worth worrying about at all.
Right, now that is
when
crucial.
We recognize
that is crucial right there.
This, we can start to move on and come up with practical solutions on how to resolve our stress and negative thoughts. We can always counteract the negative thoughts. by writing a positive one beside it as well. Number 5, learn to be open-minded. Emotionally mature people understand they don't have all the answers. That's why it's best to open our minds to other perspectives besides simply our own. We may have a strong opinion on certain subjects, but it doesn't hurt to actively listen to another's opposing opinion instead of thinking about ways we can persuade them that they're wrong. It's best not to judge someone or something right away. If we learn to be open-minded, even with the little things, we give ourselves the chance to try something new. We can enjoy different films or literature we might not have thought was our taste, try a unique recipe, and most importantly, hear others out. We may learn something from listening to another's perspective, and we may realize we were wrong. We can still choose our opinions in the end, but this is after we've listened with an open mind to the other's beliefs or arguments. Even if we don't agree, we may understand them a little bit more, and that can be powerful. As our role model, Mother Teresa, has advised, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. Number 6,
Right.
embrace reality. Do you often beat yourself up because of your circumstances and your flaws? Remember negative thoughts? Do they spend a lot of time dwelling on your reality instead of dwelling on your flaws or even suppressing them? Accept and embrace them. This is your life. Instead of ignoring your struggles, find a way to be at peace with them. If you can change it, work towards change. If you can't, embrace who you are, where you are, and work towards what will make you smile. Embracing this will not only give you clarity to move forward, but peace as well. Mother Teresa's wise tips on peace? Peace begins with a smile.
Mother
Number
Teresa.
7, pause and be patient. Have you ever been in a heated argument and said something you didn't mean and later regretted it? This is likely because we act on impulse when upset. If we take a moment to pause and reflect, we can then begin to say what we really mean. Simply expressing how we feel and why can turn a situation around by not only making the other person understand you, but yourself as well. Choose to pause in a stressful or confusing situation to give yourself the option to consciously choose how you want to react. It will only lead you on the path to emotional maturity. And number 8, live in the present. Dwelling on the past can cause us sadness and regret. Dwelling on the future, don't even get me started on how stressful. So, while we can learn from our past and make choices for our future, we need to learn to live in the present. If we're present and make conscious decisions, we're less likely to react negatively or fall into old habits. Being present is powerful. It's the only moment we can act, choose, experience, and enjoy if we allow ourselves to. We can't change the past, and we can't jump to the future. So why waste the precious time we have dwelling upon them? Life is happening now, as we speak, in front of you. And as Mother Teresa would say, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow
Mother
has not
Teresa.
yet come. We have only today. Let us begin. So, are you emotionally mature? Did you find these tips helpful? Let us know which one of these tips
All
you'll follow in the
right.
comments below.
So, I always like going to Psych2Go. If you've been around long enough, you know that. But yeah, that's the knowledge from Psych2Go. But what I want to do, I was supposed to do this at the opening, so I'll do it again tomorrow as well. But I'm gonna do it right now. I want to give a special shout out to every single person who has been watching this show, whether it be today, yesterday, or since I started. We got Zanita67 in the chat, of course. Shout out to you. You always in here, and I feel like you are getting the most out of this and growing the most that you can from this. Nia, always a pleasure to have you in here. Grow, girl. Find your root and grow. I'm not doing this for 15 hours a day. I mostly play the game, so just get it in right here where we can get it in and try to grow from this 1 hour. 1 hour, 5 days a week is 5 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month. That's 20 hours that we spent growing, just trying to find our root and growing. 20 hours every single month. So let's keep this going. I don't see nobody else in the chat, but I want to shout out hi Chris, HYYY Chris, always out there supporting. And anybody else, Stacy on TikTok, appreciate you for always sharing, dropping in here, liking, all of that. I'm gonna do this again tomorrow at the top of the show, so please make sure you tune in. I just like to do it because it's going to be in the actual recording of the show. And y'all need y'all props because we have to grow together. I'm not doing this so that I can get fans to be like, oh, I watch your show. I'm doing this so we can grow together. So, all right, back to the show now. Let's have some fun now. All right. Now, type in the chat if you out there. I need some participation on this one. Type in the chat and tell me when you grew up. See, I grew up roughly in the 90s. Growing up in the 90s. And you can tell me when you grew up. Let's go.
Want to get rid of this visceral fat? Check this out.
This is how to get in shape fast.
What is the... If you grew up in the 1990s, you remember a time before everything went digital. Listening to music on CD players, hoping the disc wouldn't skip. Sitting on the internet and praying no one picked up the phone and hoping the disc wouldn't skip. Sitting on the internet and praying no one picked up the phone in the middle of a download. And of course, Friday night trips to the video store weren't just routine. They were part of how we lived. This is growing up in the 1990s. We were the last to really live. In the early 90s, CD players started replacing cassette Walkmans, and it felt like a big upgrade. No more rewinding tapes or flipping sides. Just pop in a disc and skip straight to your favorite track. The sound was clearer, more polished, especially compared to worn-out cassettes. But they weren't
to school. I had. Is that the one I had? That ain't the one I had. But I used to walk to school with that mug every day.
Perfect.
Ideal proving ground for the Sony Discman with ESP. We developed ESP technology.
Most of us remember walking around trying not to jostle the thing, because even with anti-skip tech, a small bump could make the music jump ahead mid-song. People carried them flat in one hand like a tray, just to keep things steady. Still, it was worth it. CDs felt like the future, even if you had to babysit the player. There was something about making mixtapes that was just magic. The task of hitting record at the right moment, trying to avoid the DJ talking over the song, and hoping you didn't end up with an awkward fade out at the end. It was an art form. We made them for ourselves, for our crushes, or just to share with friends. The mix of songs on a single tape told a story. And then, as CDs took over, we switched to burning our mixes onto discs. Too bad kids today will never really know the thrill of exchanging a mixtape with a friend, or the rush of hearing that perfect song when you hit play. And don't say you never made a mixtape back in the day.
Exactly.
Friday nights used to mean grabbing a worn-out VHS tape, sliding it into the VCR, and hitting play. Whether it was a movie you owned or one you rented from the corner video store, there was something special about watching it on your own TV. The picture was grainy. The tracking sometimes needed adjusting, but that was part of the charm. And remember those insert sheets that came with new blank tapes? We had dozens of them, always nearby, just in case. The soft whir as the tape loaded, that satisfying click. It meant you were in for a good time, right there in your living room.
Okay, and we can play it on my brother's computer.
Okay, no problem. All we gotta do is...
Before flash drives or cloud storage, we had floppy disks. And I mean floppy. If you're old enough, you might remember the big 8-inch ones, or those 5 and a...
So I remember the floppy disk, but they was outdated. We was already on the CD by that time.
...quarter-inch discs that actually bent when you held them. But most of us used the 3.5-inch kind, the hard plastic ones with that little metal slider. I used to pull it back with my finger just to hear it snap shut. And when your computer started reading it, that clicking and whirring sound meant your files were, hopefully, loading. It wasn't high capacity, but back then, it felt like the future. There was a time when Friday nights meant heading to the video rental store, whether it was Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, or Suncoast. You'd grab your membership card, ready to pick out your weekend movie haul. New releases were a big deal, and you'd always hope the latest blockbuster was still available, because they were in high demand, and if you weren't fast enough, you'd end up with something else. The shelves were lined with VHS tapes, and the excitement of picking out the perfect one, then racing home to watch it, was its own kind of magic. No streaming, no instant access, just the thrill of picking a movie off the shelf. Remember that unforgettable sound when you connected to the internet? That screeching, buzzing noise that seemed to go on forever? about to dive into something new, but it always felt like an adventure or a test of patience. If someone in the house picked up the phone while you were online, it was like losing all progress, especially if you were downloading a file, and everything would reset from the beginning. It wasn't uncommon to hear your mom yelling, "Don't pick up the phone, I'm waiting for an important call." And don't forget that heart-pounding moment when the screen finally loaded and that iconic "You've got mail" popped up.
Yeah.
A simple message, but it felt like you had won the internet lottery back then. Pogs were one of those things that defined the 90s.
But look, I
Pogs.
got some cool Pogs. Elf Pogs. Remember Elf?
They were everywhere, at school, in kids' pockets, and on the playground. The game itself was simple, but the fun was endless. You'd gather with friends, each with their own stack of Pogs, ready to battle it out. The goal? Knock the other person's Pogs out of the stack using your own. But it wasn't just about the game. It was about the excitement of collecting them, trading them with friends, and showing off your best ones. Every Pog was a little piece of nostalgia, and that feeling of victory when you won a trade or knocked out a rare one was unbeatable. Saturday mornings in the 90s were a magical time. The TV was our window to a world of adventure,
Let's
and
go.
it all started with a bowl of cereal in hand. New episodes of Winnie the Pooh, Scooby-Doo, and Beetlejuice would kick off the weekend. Each show
Got the comments. Hold on. Mixtapes and mixed CDs. The mixed CDs was my time, and that's what got me into the music. Really, 5 by 1/4 floppy. I remember 5 by 1/4 floppy. Blockbuster card. I had one. Probably still got it for nostalgia's sake. Everybody need to go and pull out they Blockbuster card. You should remember Dollop. Yes, I definitely do. I definitely do.
a new adventure to dive into. The excitement of discovering what was coming next kept us glued to the screen, while the theme songs became the soundtrack of our childhood. Saturdays weren't just about cartoons, they were about the simple joy of the weekend and all the possibilities it brought. And when the cartoons ended, well, it was time to go outside and start our own adventures.
Go outside.
Hi,
All right.
I'm Greg Trzynski of the
We're
original
gonna finish
Mattress
right
Factory.
there for the 90s real quick. Let's go back to the 80s. All right, here we go.
Old, vibrant, and unforgettable. Growing up during this decade meant living in a world full of cassette tapes, arcade games, neon fashion, and Saturday morning cartoons. From the quirky trends to the toys and gadgets that defined a generation, these were the moments that made childhood magic. In this video, we're exploring 50 things only those who grew up in the 1980s. Remember, stick around. You might just relive your favorite memories. 1. Cassette tapes and mixtapes.
Look, it's
Before
the same
playlists
as the
and
90s.
streaming, we lived for cassette tapes. Whether you were recording your favorite songs off the radio, timing it just right to avoid the DJ's voice, or crafting the perfect mixtape for your crush, these
Let me see
plastic
something.
rectangles were more
We
than
gonna go
just
back one
music.
more
They
era.
were personal. Tangled tape and rewinding with a pencil, just part of the charm. 2. Saturday morning cartoon.
We're going to go back just a little bit more. There we go.
If you grew up in the 70s, you had the best childhood. But kids today, they'll never get it. No seatbelts in the back of a station wagon, Saturday morning cartoons, and recording your favorite songs off the radio onto a cassette tape. Let's
All of
rewind
us
and
had the
relive the
same.
magic of the
Ain't no
70s.
way. Saturday morning cartoons.
The good old
where-
days, before seatbelt
Where they
laws
at?
and safety
Right.
regulations.
Exactly. They ain't got no Saturday morning cartoons. Like, they don't have no Saturday morning cartoons. None. Like, for real. That took me back. Conjunction
Ruined all the
was
fun.
your
If your family
function.
had a station wagon in the 70s, chances are you spent half your childhood bouncing around in the back with no seatbelt, no worries, and definitely
Let's
no
go.
personal space. Bonus points if your wagon had that magical rear-facing flip-up seat, where you and your siblings could make faces at the drivers behind you. No tablets, no phones.
Right.
Just pure, unfiltered road trip chaos.
Right.
And somehow, we all survived. Back in the 70s, if your school books didn't have a custom-made
cover.
brown paper cover,
Right.
were you even trying?
Exactly.
We weren't about to let those textbooks get all
Get
beat
messed
up.
up.
So we grabbed a paper grocery bag, folded it just right, and boom. instant book cover.
I'm doing that now.
But the best part? Decorating it. Doodling your name in bubble letters, drawing Led Zeppelin logos, or covering it in stickers from your favorite band. By the end of the year, that book cover had more personality than the actual textbook inside.
Here's to S&H Green Stamps.
And here's to the stores that give them.
S&H Green Stamps.
Now this was peak 70s shopping culture. Your mom probably had a whole drawer stuffed with these little green stamps, and if you were lucky, you got to help lick them and stick them into the redemption book. It was like collecting baseball cards, but instead of trading
Mom,
for
you gotta
Mickey
tell me if you
Mantle,
ever did this.
you were saving up for a new toaster or a set of drinking glasses. And when you finally had enough stamps to cash in, pure victory. Kids today will never know the thrill of flipping through that catalog, dreaming about what you could buy for free.
Greenback stamps, okay. We got out and did things. Just make sure you were home before the street light came on. Exactly.
Honey, are you okay? I'm right here. I'm fine.
Before cell phones and unlimited plans, making a simple phone call was basically a group activity. If you lived in a small town, chances are you had a party line, which meant sharing a phone line with your neighbors. You'd pick up the receiver only to hear Mrs. Johnson down the street already gossiping for the last hour. And even if you had a private line, that 15-foot curly cord was a lifesaver. You could stretch it halfway across the house for some privacy, until your mom yanked it back because she needed to make a call. Let's be real, the 70s were the golden era of music. If you didn't have a vinyl collection back then, were you even living? Whether you were blasting the Bee Gees, dancing to Stayin' Alive, or rocking out to Led Zeppelin, the music of the 70s had a vibe that you can't match. It wasn't just on the radio, it was in your soul. And let's not forget about disco, the glitter, the platforms, the moves on the dance floor. Nothing beats a Saturday night at the Disco Ball Lit Club. The 70s truly had it all when it came to tunes. In the 70s, if you missed a family dinner, you were pretty much out of the loop. It wasn't just about eating, it was about connecting.
What we talked about. All right,
Don't buy
y'all.
another pair of glasses until
Now,
you see what
we
this
gonna have to
new
do this again next Wednesday because this was good. This was like so beautiful. Remind me, I'm gonna put this in my this as something on a sticky note for myself next Wednesday. We'll grow up some more. We'll revisit this this same topic. Let me write it down. I'm gonna write it down while we still streaming. Wednesday. What's today? The 18th. 7/18. Growing up. Topic. That's the topic right there. We can put that on the sticky. I wrote it on this sticky right here. Growing up. Next week. Because this was good. All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here for the day. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. It's been another great episode of Expansion Pack. We just getting the summer started, y'all. Just getting the summer started. We're going to bring great episodes throughout the whole entire summer so that when the school year come back, you're back at your job, you're back where you're at, you're back doing your routine, you'll still come in and kick it with me. All right, y'all. I'm going to get on up out of here. This is DGTA TV. Peace. See y'all tomorrow. Healthy Mental Thursday. Get your mental right.
We all love our smartphones because of how useful they are, but there are some things you probably never knew about them despite using them every day. And today we're going to talk about some secret dialer codes you can access by typing them right in the same way you would any other phone number. And these may be referred to in other places as MMI codes or USSD codes or possibly interrogation codes. They have a lot of different names, but in any case, no matter what kind of phone you have, we're going to talk about some codes for you. Now quickly, before we jump in, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this video, Audible. I'm sure most of you know that Audible has an unmatched that you can access by typing them MMI codes with any secret dialer codes you can access by typing them right in the same way you would any other phone number. And these may be referred to in other places as MMI codes or USSD codes or possibly interrogation codes. They have a lot of different names, but in any case, no matter what kind of phone you have, we're going to talk about some codes for you. Now quickly, before we jump in, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this video, Audible. I'm sure most of you know that Audible has an unmatched number of audiobooks you can listen to on multiple devices, including iPhone, Android devices, your laptop, even Amazon Echo, plus the ability to control the listening speed either faster or slower. So it's great for if you're listening while you're exercising or to take an audible cancer. $6.95 for you who have a phone running iOS. And like I mentioned, you'll want to just open up the dialing interface. And the best and most interesting one is probably the so-called field test mode, which can be accessed by entering the following code: *3001 #12345 #, then hitting call. And this will open a menu with all sorts of technical data about your phone that is probably not very useful to you, but still really cool to see. And one cool thing you can check out is by going to the LTE and serving cell measure menu and looking for the thing called RSRP0, which is actually the actual signal strength measured in decibels that your phone is receiving, which will be between probably -40 and -130, where -40 is the best possible. So this is the actual signal strength, not just the number of bars. Pretty cool. Okay, another neat one is *#06#, and this will immediately just show you your IMEI for your phone, which is simply a unique identifier that every phone has. And you can actually find this in the settings, but this makes you way cooler when you do this. Another code similar to the last one is *#07# and then hit call, which brings up a menu full of legal and regulatory information. And again, I think this menu is accessible from the settings, but still it's cool to do it this way. Okay, next up, this one is actually pretty interesting, which is *5005 *7672#. This will show you the phone number that is associated with your cell carrier and is actually the number that all of your text messages are sent to before being forwarded to the person you actually sent it to. Messages are stated with your 672 5005 *7672#. This will show you the phone number that is associated with your cell carrier and is actually the number that all of your text messages are sent to before being forwarded to the person you actually sent it to. So it's utterly useless, but still cool and kind of like a behind-the-scenes look at how cellular networks operate. Finally, we have a few codes for getting info from your cell carrier, and this one will show you the actual amount of data you use and have left, not just what your phone tells you. The code will either be *3282# or #3282, depending on what cell carrier you have. When you use this one, you should receive a text a few seconds later with the info telling you about it. Another one is to see your bill balance or to see how much you owe. Again, this one is slightly different. £55 or £225 or £225. So you can maybe save these numbers as favorites, and then that'll be a way to always get a quick update on your cell usage if you want to keep track of that type of thing. Okay, so that was iOS, and now on to Android OS.
Let me see this.
And these operate pretty much the same way as before. You type them right into the dialer. And these ones should work on any phone model regardless of the manufacturer. And fun fact, in the source code for this OS, these are actually referred to literally as secret code, which is pretty neat, so this video isn't just clickbait after all. First up is one for a testing menu, kind of like the field test menu we talked about before. To get to it, type in *#4636 #* and here you can see a bunch of detailed info about your phone, including *#4636 #*. And here you can see a bunch of detailed info about your phone, including signal strength, bandwidth, the type of network you're using, all sorts of fun stuff. And there's other menus with usage statistic, 50% support. To get to it, type in *#4636 #*. And here you can see a bunch of detailed info about your phone, including signal strength. And here you can see a bunch of 4636 #*. And here you can see a bunch of detailed info about your phone, including signal strength, bandwidth, the type of network you're using, all sorts of fun stuff. And there's other menus with usage statistics and Wi-Fi information. Again, something you can just look through that you might find pretty interesting. Next up, this one is a bit interesting, which is the code *426#***. And this brings up an App Store debug menu. I really have no idea what this is used for, but hey, most people don't even know this existed, so now you do, so look how cool you are now. Alright, the next couple we have seen before, and these will also work on this OS as well. So we have the *#06# code, which on my phone at least, not *#06# code, which on my phone at least, not only brings up the IMEI, but also a bunch of other phone identifiers and even barcodes for each one. Pretty neat. Might not be a bad idea to screenshot that and save it if you think you'll ever need that info in the future for whatever reason. Then there's the *#07#, which also brings up some regular. Then there's the *#07#, which also. Brings up some regulatory labels and legal info, and I think this is all just to kind of prove the phone passed certain certifications and testing to be legally sold or something like that. And hey, would you look at that? It's even valid. Alright, up next is pretty interesting, and I haven't seen this one mentioned in many other places. I actually found this digging through the source code myself, because if you didn't know, this OS is actually open source. And it lets you access a secret visual voicemail menu. So the code is *#8862 66344 ###. Kind of a long one, bear with me. Now on my phone, there are actually two options in this menu. One is sync. Now 344 ###. It's kind of a long one. 66344 ###.
That ain't work. Yeah, they done patched all them off. 8862 66344. Hold on. 8862 634.
Kind of a long one.
Yep.
Now on my phone, there are actually two options in this menu. One is sync, which I'm not really sure what it does exactly, and another one, VVM config override. I believe that stands for visual voicemail. And I wouldn't recommend messing with any of these settings, but it still might be cool to kind of just look at. And we have some stuff mentioning technical aspects of voicemail you probably didn't even know about, and I know I did. And I think this is another one that very few people know existed, until now of course. And I do believe you need to be at least on Android OS version 8 or 9 to use this though. I don't think it's in earlier versions. But anyway, it's a weird Easter egg feature called pet mode. Now to activate it, type in *#*729 ###.